CNN has been accused of trying to moderate by bringing on voices like yours for the period that you were on, and Scott
5
Jennings.
1/4 episodes, yeah.
5 1/4 episodes.
Yeah, that's
But so CNN, their ratings are in the gutter, and what everyone's basically saying is that they're realizing that this echo chamber of leftist liberal worldview is costing them viewership. They have to moderate.
Yep.
So they seek out personalities like yourself or Scott Jennings.
Yeah.
Is that how you feel it happened, or is that factually just what happened?
Yes, you're allowed to go on, like, specifically Abby's show, which is 2 on 2. It's usually like 3 on 1 because the one other Republican's usually a person who hates Donald Trump or like is a former Republican, or somebody who is like basically like mentally ill at this point and they're just like on the way out mentally. I've been on episodes like that, and the host is rooting against you. The host is trying to shut you down. I don't think I ever got a full sentence out on that show. And on the other show too, everything is built towards, you get the script of what you're going to sit there and talk about, and it's why Donald Trump is the devil, why he is Hitler, and why all whites are racist. And you're like, okay, that's what I'm talking about. All right, let me get my talking points ready. And then like 30 minutes before the show, they said, actually, we scraped this, and we're actually doing a completely different setup. And be ready, and you have 90 seconds to speak on every issue, and we're going to interrupt you 30 times while you're doing it.
Why do the show then?
I mean, I thought it was fun. I mean, I had a blast.
Funny.
It was
It
was fun because I got to sit there and say, to Van Jones, BLM was the worst thing that ever happened in the 2020 at the Democratic Party. I talked about the George Floyd effect, which was the first thing that ever went viral when Abby sat there and said it didn't exist.
That was ridiculous.
Yes, and I sat there in a room full of race activists who said that they had never heard the term, and Abby, who wrote it for the Washington Post 10 years prior, was like, that's not true. And
she wrote it.
She wrote the Washington Post story.
She's just lying.
Because it's not about truth; it's about narrative.
Yes.
So to sit there and to break the narrative a little bit more and be really emboldened in breaking the narrative. Joke aside, the episode that I was kicked off for, the last part of that episode was supposed to be like a how accurate is the media, featuring Brian Stelter, who is like, and I was like breaking out in hives going there. I was hot walking into the chair, and I was like, I'm going to sit there and be like, Brian Stelter, you're a liar. Like, you lie all the time. I was like, I'm my last show on CNN. I know I'll never get cast back, not for that reason, but for the beeper reason. But I really went in there saying, no, this is a complete lie. But I wanted to sit there and fight the narrative over certain things and let it not be dominated.
Evil?
Is he evil?
He's evil. I will say that he is an evil man.
I think that
he knows he is lying, and he is doing it because he's got nefarious.
I think he loves being on camera. I met him. I did a show with him. He loves being on camera. I think that's a big driver for him. But this is the guy who brought Stormy Daniels' lawyer and was like, you should be president.
Oh my God.
150 times. And he's about accuracy in the media. And why doesn't the media have no integrity? And they can never look at themselves, and they have these bloated salaries. They have a few good people at CNN. I love Scott. I've never met him, but he was great. Sir Michael Singleton's great. There are a few people. None of them have their own shows. None of them have their own platforms. We all live at the behest of liberals who sometimes are nonpartisan, but you're only allowed to say certain things. And that's when they sit there and they're like, this is unacceptable. You're unacceptable for this. You're unacceptable for that. And they shut them down. Sure, Michael said I think he said something like biological sex is real, or he said a man, men in women's bathrooms, or whatever he said. And he said they were like, you're transphobic. The guy accused him of being transphobic right then and there.
There was that segment where the guy's like, stop! Oh, I won't hear it. Stop!
Yes,
shut up.
That was the episode. That was the segment. Yes, yeah. And so and then Abby made an apology on the part of Shermichael.
Yeah.
You are always in control. You're allowed to run in that lane. And so sometimes it's great because you get to fight against it. But
dude, this is why
they're all dying, though.
This is why they're all dying, because, to be honest, if you went on a podcast and you had some dude basically trying to defend, terrorism or whatever was going on, and then you made the beeper joke, every podcast is going to be laughing, and they're going to be like, "Oh, we got to book that guy." The cable networks were like, "Get him out!" They could, and it's like, wait, hold on. Like,
a lot of comedians asked me on after that.
Oh, did they really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But it was like, it was a quick-witted and funny response to the constant barrage of "you're a Nazi."
Yeah.
And then they immediately feigned victimhood of, You're saying I should die?
To a Nazi from a guy who called non-Muslims animals, all gays were pedophiles, all non-Muslims were animals, and horrendous things about the Jews. And then in his like British accent, as he's bloating his chest, they're saying, Donald Trump uses the language of Joseph Goebbels. I'm like, fuck off, excuse my language. But like, I mean, like, you probably sat there and used that same language your whole life. I mean, like, give me a break. And that's why I kind of like lost it.
You know the story of Amber Duke?
Yeah, Amber's a good friend of mine.
She walked off the show.
Yes, for that episode from when I was on, yeah.
She was called a Nazi by
that Looney Tune.
whatever her name is.
Yes.
And this lady,
Yeah.
she loves that I call her that. And she was like, I'm not going to sit here and be called a Nazi. And then, the long story short of it is, I guess they no longer have that woman on the show.
But Amber works for the network.
Right.
And I think Amber said on your podcast that that the other lady was booked on another show over Amber, who works for the network.
Yeah.
That is crazy. But they feel, I don't know why they give people those platforms. And, I've done Piers Morgan, and sometimes he has people on. I'm like, is there an insane asylum that's just a rotating like door?
You ever see that movie Invasion with Nicole Kidman?
No, but I can get the gist from the title.
Astronaut comes back to Earth infected by some fungus.
Yeah.
And then when you go to sleep, your hormones while you sleep activate the fungus and then turn you into a hive mind alien creature. Like, you look human and everything, but you're like emotionless, and they vomit on other people to convert them. That's what it feels like is happening.
But how many of these people have ever worked either in A, real journalism, or B, political like work that talk about politics? Very, very, very few. They have no expertise on the issue. They're trying to create viral moments to create the .com economy and really milk it. And that's why, and as long as your business is built on feigning outrage or making people angry or anxiety ridden, you have to go further every single time. There's no, there's no end in sight.
So they're the epitome of like talking heads. They don't have any sources, or they have sources, but they don't have any like
They usually don't
foundations.
have sources either. But yeah,
Any
you got to write the first
foundations
time.
against them, and they're they don't know what they're talking about. Just talking and spewing
Talking
points.
heads used to be people who had a job and then they're like 60 or they're retired or whatever.
Yeah.
They wrote a bunch of books as their whatever. That's not these people. These people are like 23 and like, I have an opinion to give. Like, okay. But they're building their entire economy on either being very charismatic or good looking and knowing absolutely nothing and having no work experience behind it. So it's very concerning if they get massive audiences. And that's what they said about the right with Trump. Is they said, oh, look at those people listening to him. But at least they were funny and they were interesting. A lot of them were comedians. These people are saying crazy nonsense and getting people, I think, like emotionally and mentally disturbed.
I mean, that's been the kind of the MO for 10 years. Look at the reaction to Trump getting elected in 2016.
Where is that lady now who went on her knees and screamed no?
That's exactly
I
what
want
I
to
was
know
thinking.
what
That's
happened.
the exact
to her.
image that was in my head.
I want to know, where is she now? Like,
that's something, but like what you're talking about, that's exactly what the media has been doing to the American people forever. The idea that Donald Trump is a Nazi or that he was anything other than an aughts Democrat, like Democrat 90s and aughts Democrat, that's exactly what he was. And everyone knew it. Oprah Winfrey and all these people, Whoopi Goldberg, and he went on The View, and everyone was all.
He went on Wendy Williams and did like relationship advice.
They all loved him.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. If you want to go on YouTube, it's so good. Yeah, but their economy was that he was an evil, Hitler-esque person, or a smart evil maniac, or a fat orange retard.
Yeah,
it was like living in both worlds at the same time.
And so it was just the media continuously dumping this down people's throat. And when society is now at the point that we talked about earlier, where everything is safetyism and children are children until they're 25, 26
right.
or whatever, you're going to have people freaking out because the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their life is the election of Donald Trump.
But look how many books there were. Look at the Washington Post became financially solvent. The New York Times made tons of money. MSNBC and CNN's ratings in 2017 were gigantic. They loved it. Do you know this expression, if God wasn't real, we'd have to make him up? That expression. If Donald Trump wasn't real, they would have to make him up.
He was the best thing that's happened to many news stations.
I think for the average medium person who's not a news junkie, not a professional, not someone who listens to Joy Reid and says, wow, she's got it all going on. But the average person who's just concerned because they're hearing, news all the time that's saying this is, a nutbag or whatever the case is. I think part of the thing that the media did not anticipate is their exhaustion from 8 years of it and the lived experience that, we didn't go to World War III.
Lived experience.
The lived experience.
Oh, lefty, you're welcome.
The lived experience of Trump being president. Yeah, of Trump being president, and being like, we didn't go to World War III. There was no camps.
Yeah, the results of the first Donald Trump presidency were very good for most people, and then you had COVID, which was actually very bad for everybody, and the argument made by the left was we can handle this. The argument made was Donald Trump is the reason why it was all messed up and we can make everything better. And everyone suffered.
And we're going to have this 82-year-old. Yeah. He's got all the ideas.
Everyone suffered, and everyone suffered because of the policies of the Democrats and the inflation. Everyone suffered under that. It took a long time. All of these policies that the Democrats really, really had been championing, people saw the results, and then they're like, wait a minute, Donald Trump was better. And I don't care that you're telling me that he's racist. I see him talking to people, and he's doing it in his ham-fisted, silly comedy.
Dancing while doing the YMCA.
Yeah. That it's Donald Trump's way, but he doesn't seem like he hates black people. He doesn't seem like he hates, people that just because they're brown. He doesn't seem like he hates women. Like, look at his chief of staff and all these people that he's appointed. People are seeing that the lies from the left about Donald Trump are just that.
Well, and how many young liberals were also upset because there was no Wi-Fi in the camps that they were going to? That would probably trigger the hell out of them.
That's the only thing that would probably. Well, that is funny, though, when you see all these lefties who are cheering on Luigi Mangione, assuming he is the assassin. We don't know. And I'm just like, it is kind of funny, but it actually isn't surprising that people who are really dumb don't understand that they are cheering for a world in which they would suffer because they're dumb. Yeah.
Because most people presume that prosperity is the norm. They don't realize how, it's not normal in most of the world. It's very not normal in the history of the world, and how fragile it is.
When you listen to people make the arguments against our healthcare system, they're always comparing it to an imaginary system that's perfect.
Right.
The argument isn't against. They're not comparing it to Canada's healthcare system or the healthcare system in the UK where there's actual tangible negatives. There are bad things that happen. Now, I'm not trying to say that it's better, that the US system is better or cheaper or whatever. But
there are improvements can't be made.
Exactly. But there are trade-offs, and if you had single payer here in the US, there would be things that would make them unhappy about that. So the idea that our system has these flaws, which it does, and then they're comparing it to this perfect, flawless system is something that's typical of the left when they're comparing our existing capitalist system with property rights and stuff, comparing it to the utopian communism where nobody ever has to work.
It's not real. Yeah, exactly. But that's what I love when they sit there and say, it's white men who screwed everything up. If we had a world without white men running places, we would be X, Y, and Z. Which authoritarian country are you talking about right now? Because it's not anyone that I point it on the map. Find the country with no white men in any executive experience, maybe with the exception of Japan or, South Korea. What non-authoritarian country are you talking about right now? Or one there that has as much prosperity or freedom as we do. Zero. But
this is a
it's a narrative to make white people feel bad about themselves because the average person has never thought of that before or seen it on the outside picture.
It's the product of our prosperity.
Right.
We
the laziness.
We as a nation have to you have to teach the younger generations about these things, but we have these urban liberal types do not understand what the world is at all, and they think they're really smart. They think they're smarter than you. These people would not have look. I don't think anybody would ever make any liberal who wants to make the argument that this statement is going to be wrong will be laughed at. If you took your average run-of-the-mill conservative and your average run-of-the-mill liberal and dropped them both isolated in the middle of the Yukon territory far north, which one has a higher chance of survival?
I mean,
definitely not the lib.
Definitely not the lib.
Literally no question, the conservative to any degree. You go to a rural area. You drive around here. Most people, 99% Trump supporters. Not all of them.
Right.
There's an anti-Trump flag somewhere. Mostly. What do they have? they all have chickens.
Yeah.
So they get fresh eggs in the morning. And I'm not saying it's the most profound thing in the world, but did you ever see that video where the woman is like, so my friend came over to my house and she was like, Kayla, why do you have lemons in your fridge?
Oh, the lemon tree one.
And she goes, because I sometimes use it to cook. And she goes, yeah, I know, but like, why do you have store-bought lemons in your fridge?
I've never seen this video.
And she goes,
Hilarious.
because I cook with them. And she goes, Kayla, you have a lemon tree outside. And she goes, yeah, but I have the ones from the store to cook with. And she goes, why don't you just eat the lemons outside? And she goes, you can?
Is this real?
Real video.
This was a real video. This isn't
Yeah,
a
man.
bit.
100%.
I mean, I hope it was a bit, but I don't think it was.
That's crazy.
But this is true. Like, I mean, look,
I would love in every school if they taught a class, like an 8th grade or high school, called like the End of the World class, which is about like when a civilization collapsed and what got it there, and just different ones across the world, because people don't know how easy and fragile and broken things are, and they just don't repair.
I'll tell you what bothers me is that
What bothers you, Tim?
what bothers me is when people come and we have chickens and I'll be like, hey, can you grab the eggs? And they'll wash them.
I've learned I don't wash them anymore. I just
People
eat 'em
don't
right in my mouth.
understand. I'm not.
Why would you
I-
wash an eggshell?
Because they look dirty, because they were on the
yeah.
ground and there's poop on them.
But but you're not eating the eggshell.
So people wash them off because they're like,
Society
oh, this is
told us so.
gross. And then you wash off the bloom and they spoil. You can put them in the fridge, they'll last for a long time. But it's like you take the eggs, they're poopy and they have dirt, and you leave them. You're not eating the shell, leave it alone. Wash it when you're going to eat it, but you don't wash it beforehand. My point is, it's not just that I'm being silly about, but I have had people be like, we get fresh eggs right from the coop, and they'll be like, what do we have to do to eat them? And I'll be like, break it open and eat it. And they'll be like, you got to do something to them? And I'm like, no, you just break it open and eat it.
What do they think happens?
Because the eggs are all white. They think they're cleaned and bleached and prepared.
Yeah.
People, I tell you, man, when on our other property in Maryland, it kind of sucks when we moved because there's fruit all over the place. We have pawpaw, we had cherries, we had apples, we had grapes, and we had wineberries. And I would go out frolicking like Homer Simpson in the land of chocolate, grabbing all the berries.
Ladies and gentlemen, picture this in your mind.
Blackberries. We had wild blackberries, black raspberry. I can't tell you how many people that would come into the studio, and I'd be like, check this out. And I'd be grabbing it all, and they'd be like, can I eat it? And I'm like, bro, it's an apple. Take it off the tree and bite it. And look, I've never done that before. I'm like, wow, man.
They believe
These
that-
are not
oh,
even necessarily liberals. Sorry. It's not even necessarily liberals. It's people who live in cities don't know these things. And again, I'm not pretending I'm a survivalist. I'm just saying, based off the fact that I know you can take an apple off a tree and eat it because I watched the deer do it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
and that urban liberals are less likely to understand how to find water. You put the society ends. The cities, the water turns off in 3 days. Conservatives have wells. It's wild.
Yeah, I was just saying that we've all been taught that you don't think unless you live out in the area where there's fruit and there's plants out there that you can actually you don't have to clean off your eggs. You don't have to.
No, I mean, I just would never
it pretty.
would.
You see it pretty.
Preparation is required.
Yeah, you see it pretty in the markets. You're like, okay, what did they do to get there? But no, you don't need it.
I don't know. That would be like cleaning off like the skin from the orange. It just would make no sense because you typically don't eat the.
Have you seen a fresh chicken egg from a coop, brother?
Yes.
It's covered in chicken crap.
Okay, but that's still.
They look at
I
that
could
and
see
they go,
you
"Oof."
wiping it off, so it doesn't drop into the pan. But I don't see why you would wash it.
Like watering it down. You water
Yes.
it down.
They take a cloth and water and they wipe them off.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't do that.
You're not scrubbing them.
No, I'm talking if there's like
in a dishwasher.
if there's like bird crap falling into your pan, you don't want that to happen.
True.
That's
Right.
the only
So when
talking
you're
about.
cooking, my point is not meant to be disrespectful. It's that they think preparation is required for a lot of
yeah.
these foods.
No.
I walk out and it's pawpaw season, like beginning of October, and you grab it off the tree and you just rip it open and you can eat it. I'm not a
Yeah.
big fan of pawpaw, by the way, but
I'm of the assumption that like 70% of the public is either mentally ill, obese, or like completely useless. So I mean, this doesn't shock me, but and maybe my 70% is low. But I mean, yeah, this checks out. This absolutely checks out. That we'd be washing eggs before eating them.
Do you guys wash potatoes before you eat them from the store? Do you go put it in the
I
sink?
hate
just see it in
making
chat.
potatoes. Sorry.
well, there's a couple we're supposed to look at it. If you get a fresh potato, you actually want there to be a little bit of dirt on it. This is actually a source of a lot of B vitamins, and when people started washing it off, it actually is a contributing factor to malnutrition. Some think. I don't know for sure, but that's a little bit more nuanced, I suppose.
Do you wash your chicken before you cook it?
I usually take off the feathers first.
Medium
I kill
rare.
it and then yeah.
Okay, but you don't wash the skin.
The skin. Oh no,
Some people
I
wash
saw
it.
those memes.
Yeah, people watch the
no,
skin.
and I have not.
Wash the chicken.
Oh, yeah, no, I don't watch the chicken either.
Certain culture does apparently.
Yeah. I'm Italian, so I put olive oil and garlic in literally
Cut off the
everything.
skin.
Oh yeah.
Like,
And
half
literally everything has
fat,
garlic and olive oil.
fat
in
and
it.
skin.
My Fruit Loops, garlic and olive oil. Thanks for checking out this clip from Timcast IRL. Make sure to watch the show live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. Subscribe to this channel, and we will see you all there.